there are prospects who, it's a long-term play. There's people that I finally have an opportunity with this year who I was prospecting 4 years ago. Listen, eventually when I land this person, when they give me an opportunity, this is going to be a very large account, and it's going to be, a game changer for myself as well as the company. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sell the Truth. I'm your host, Eli Stoehr, and I am thankful and excited that you are here. Mark, I'm thankful, excited that you are here, too.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I've got a special guest on. Newest addition to the Pavement Group sales team, Mark Perkins.
Yep.
Mark Perkins. Mark has his own show, by the way. I'm going to plug this real quick. Great show with his wife, Paige Perkins, at Perks and Paving. They talk about all kinds of stuff. You could plug it real quick if you want.
We do. Lately, we've been doing a monthly recap, just talking about what's been going on with the company and what's been going on in our personal lives, and highlighting a core value each month for the past 6 months of the year. So catch us every Monday, the first Monday of the month. We usually drop a new episode. So check it out on the One Team Media page.
There's always some good, fun stories and all kinds of stuff you guys talk about on that show.
Give the audience a little look behind the curtain. That's kind of what it is, just a little peek.
Love it. Well, today we're going to be touching on separation season. At the time of this recording, it is late November. We are nearing Thanksgiving, and I couldn't be more excited for that, to take a small break. But also at the same time, I couldn't be more excited for what I like to call separation season, right? This is the time of the year where salespeople, especially in the construction industry, a lot of people take this time off. They take between Thanksgiving or Christmas-ish until the first of the year, sometimes in February, maybe even into March, and they'll just coast, right? They might not take the full time off and go on vacation for the entire time, but they're sitting there coasting for, several months, sometimes several weeks, sometimes several months, and that can turn out to a disaster of a year. And so, while everyone else is coasting, what are we doing? Well, we're sitting behind the scenes, working, talking to people, getting in front of people. And so I wanted to bring on Mark Perkins because Mark, you came on, you've been in the sales role now
since October 1st.
Since October. So you've been in the sales role for about two months. You've sold 7 figures worth of work already, and you have, actively been prospecting like a madhouse right now. Mm-hmm. And I know your goals for next year. It's large, and I love it, right? I'm really excited for it, and it's 100% achievable. But that only happens when you build the foundation, and you put in a lot of work for that foundation. And again, right now, this time of the year, it's separation season, right? So while everyone else is coasting, and when I say separation season too, this isn't me saying don't go on vacation as a salesperson. This isn't me saying work, on Thanksgiving or work on Christmas. Like I take time off too during this time of the year, but most people are taking several weeks, several months, which could lead to a disaster of a year. So I want to just, touch on what you're doing right now. We've always said this is the quote-unquote off-season. Mm-hmm. It's not really the off-season anymore, right? For us, it's, you've been in this at the Pavement Group long enough. You've been, you were a project coordinator before you were a salesperson. What did you do, first of all, when you were a project coordinator that's different from what you're doing now and planning, for this time of the year?
So in terms of planning for the time of the year, obviously with active jobs winding down across the country, in terms of a day-to-day, we spend a lot of time kind of going through our contractor network, updating those contacts. What services are they providing? Are they still in business? Are they expanding? And just trying to paint a better brush of who we're doing work with and other opportunities of who we have bid our jobs and work with TPG. As compared to now as a sales account executive with the Pavement Group, it's a lot different. So, the last, I'd say, 2 weeks has led to a lot of phone calls, a lot of prospecting, looking for new clients. As a brand new salesperson in this company, I don't have an established book. I have a handful of clients that I've been working with and managing that I brought into my transition to a sales account executive. But as of right now, once these jobs wrap up, there's no guarantee that anything else is coming for me next year. So it's a lot of time researching companies I want to target, finding the appropriate people, emails, phone calls, texts, you name it. And it's pretty much been my existence the last few weeks here. So.
Nobody is coming to save you.
Right.
That's the reality.
I mean, the only person who's in charge of bringing in business to my account is me. So it's my job.
I want to share with you guys something that I actually posted on LinkedIn, and This has been something that I've been thinking about as we've, slowly approached Thanksgiving. Usually towards the end of the year, I always think about this separation season and like, what can I do differently from last year to improve this time of the year for me and the team? And one of the things that, I was thinking about was, this is a post that I put on LinkedIn. I said, if you're not planning, working, or executing for 2025 yet, you're already behind. Somebody else is, and they'll pass you. Success doesn't wait, and neither should you. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time today. Obviously, it's an old quote right there, but it's the reality, right? If you're not planning, executing, and right now it is November 27th, right? So it's late November. If you haven't been looking, at least starting to look ahead for 2025, even, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago at the start of November, even at the, late November, like you're already behind. Now, the good news is we can catch up, right? If you, the listener, if you haven't been actively looking at 2025, and there's a certain extent where you still got to finish out this year, right? Still got to finish out 2024 strong, and we certainly are. But we are now looking at ahead to 2025. What is that going to look like? Who should we be talking to? What should we be doing differently? So I just wanted to share that with you guys because it is honestly, it's the truth. If you're not planning, working, executing for 2025 right now, and in our industry, the quote unquote bidding season comes up, right? People are looking for budgets.
Yep.
I had, as of this recording right now, I've had people that have reached out to me and said, yep, I need a project looked at. I need a parking lot looked at, and I need the bid back by, December 15th. Like, okay, well, if I would have reached out to you in January,
right,
mid, late January, early January, I would have completely missed that opportunity. And I can't even count the amount of opportunities that are probably like that, right? So it's like we gotta like get going, and while everyone else is winding down, we're winding up.
Right. I feel like generally speaking, most clients, again, everyone's different, but like January, February, they're probably putting the time of the year where they're putting budgets together, looking at all their sites. What do we have to spend? Where are we going to spend it? This and that. So I've pretty much trying to set myself up now for in March when I come to your office and say, I need help because I have so many jobs, so many opportunities. I need a support system to help filter through all of these. And that's kind of what I'm grinding with every day now. Because obviously that doesn't exist in my current role, but that's why I'm working so hard, is to have those opportunities start lining up and falling down early spring and just put in the work now so that everything is coming through the door without any kind of lag and the funnel gets filled up. And so,
yeah. So how are you managing right now, not getting burnt out from a large level of prospecting, right? You're doing a lot day to day. You've got a long list of things to do, a lot of people to call. Is there anything specific that you're doing to like take a few minute break?
I would say discipline.
Yeah.
But I also want it more.
Yeah.
I desperately want to succeed in this new role. I was very successful in my original role with the company, and with this new responsibility and this new chapter, I don't want to slow down at all. So that's pretty much my main motivation.
I love it. I felt the same way for a long time. I've always said if your vision for what you want is large enough, there's going to be small periods and times where you do feel burnout, right? Like it happens. But if your vision is large enough and you can associate every single thing that you need to do within that vision. So I've always said, the best example here is your financial gain of working, right? You're not just working for the dollars and cents as a salesperson. You are working for where those dollars and cents go. So at the start of every year, what I've always done is I've said, I want to make X amount of money. And then I've associated exactly where each of those dollars are going to go within my life. And so each dollar has a meaning behind it. It's not just the dollars and cents that are going to be in the bank account or whatever. It's no. This is actually going to go towards something that's going to contribute to my life that goes way beyond and way deeper than the dollars and cents. So I'd encourage anyone who's out there, who's listening, who's planning for 2025 right now too, go through that exercise and really realize, like, what does it take to get there? And then also, it's not just the dollars and cents. It's not just, $200,000, $250,000, whatever that number is, right? It's like, where do those numbers actually go? What do they contribute within your life? And how is it going to make your life better? Right. How is it going to increase, your life, your family's life? How is it going to make that better? How is it going to give you more time with your family?
The other thing I wanted to comment on too was we just celebrated my wife, Paige, and her earnings and her sales achievement just like 5 minutes ago with a cake. And Like, there's no better example. Like, I've said it a million times on our own show, and I've said it a million times to her face, but like watching her work every day and seeing what it takes to become successful. But I'm competitive too, and she's super competitive. She was a multi-sport athlete in college and high school. I want to win. So I know what it takes to beat her, and what it will take, but that road is long. But like I said, it's just, I want to be number one. I want to be successful. And that's a lot of where it comes from too.
Have you always been a super disciplined person?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like built into you.
Yeah. My parents, my mom specifically, is a very type A, you know, we're gonna be here when we say we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
You know, early is on time, more or less. But yeah, that's ever since I was a little kid, always been that way.
So sitting down and doing prospecting for, hours at a time, that's like,
it's all your mindset. And honestly, I had to figure that out probably 3 weeks ago when I was going through hours of calls and being like, this sucks. I said, you know what? It doesn't suck. Like, I need to change my mindset. This is a challenge. This is a game with a very long running play where the results aren't going to happen months, if not years from now. And we had that conversation yesterday. You know, I deal more so in the short term than I should, and don't really think down long term.
we all do to some extent.
And we had that conversation yesterday. We're like, yeah, like in a couple of years, this could lead to something. And I was like, couple years, dude. I'm hours and hours a day making calls. Like, I better be getting something in February. But again, it's just that that search, that need for that instant feedback versus like, this is a long road, man.
So I want to touch on that real quick. When we sit down and we do prospecting, right? There are prospects who, it's a long-term play. There's people that I finally have an opportunity with this year who I was prospecting 4 years ago. And I shared that with you. There's several people that I have been in conversation with, and I'm like, listen, eventually when I land this person, when they give me an opportunity, this is going to be a very large account, and it's going to be, a game changer for myself as well as the company. And so you need a combination of that, of those gigantic whales who are going to change the game for your company and you and your organization. But in the short term, you do need a little bit of transactional business, right? So when we're doing prospecting, it's very important to identify, especially this time of the year as you're setting up your year. It's very important to identify who's going to be the long-term play. And listen, that might happen sooner, right? It might happen sooner than 4 years. It might be 6 months. It might be, they might call you back tomorrow and say, we have a big opportunity for you. But there's also a combination of finding, the people that need you right now. Right. And it's almost a transactional piece for that second category. But it's still relationship-based. Everything is, still relationship-based. We're building relationships with people who have long-term projects and long-term plays. But there is a certain, I guess you got to figure it out. Like, you got to figure out who's going to be the long-term play, who's going to be the long-term whale, something that would just change the game for forever, right? And then also who has projects right now that I need to find and I need to identify. And it's going to be the short-term wins. Maybe it's smaller projects, but it's still wins right now. Yeah. So it's finding that balance and finding that combination between the two. I didn't even realize that until earlier this year. I've just, me, myself, as I've prospected, as I've started out the year, or I've ended a year, I've just always had a gigantic funnel of prospects to where I've had a combination of both, and I didn't even realize it until, at some point this year, I was like, there's kind of two categories of prospects here. There's like the long-term, these guys are going to change the game. These are the gigantic whales who are going to be long-term strategic plays and partnerships. And then there's also the ones that are like, okay, like these guys have projects. It's still relationship-based, but it's more transactional to some extent. Small projects, they need it done quick. So I know that's something you and I talked about yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my biggest concern, I wouldn't say concern, my biggest fear coming into this role was like, well, how am I going to find this company, or like, where do I look? But like with the software that we use, also with
stock technology a little bit.
I was gonna say, with the Zoom info links and stuff, and the information that we can gather from that, and also just feedback from other people who have previously tried to target that industry or target that company and say, oh, like these are the directions you should go, or these are the people you should reach out to, was super helpful. But I think, you can see the enthusiasm and feel the enthusiasm with you talking about it. And where that comes for me in terms of like the day-to-day is like when the person picks up the phone. Like the person picks up the phone, it's like, this is it. Like, I've gone an hour sometimes and, voicemails, emails, but no one's picked up the phone. And then with the door opening, that's just where the eyes light up. Like I actually do have a parking lot that I really need done like in the next month. Like, would you look at it for me? Yes.
Yeah, I can help
As
you.
soon as that opening is there, that's where we have our opportunity to shine for our clients, current and prospective.
So I mean, there's another post I'm going to make on LinkedIn here. By the time that this episode comes out, you guys will probably see it on LinkedIn. But I was going to say something along the lines of like, as salespeople, we're just looking for one opportunity. After we get that opportunity, now it is on you as a salesperson to ensure that you deliver on that in a timely fashion, deliver to exactly what the customer needs, and that is how you grow. That is how you grow a gigantic sales team, a gigantic portfolio, a business. I mean, you're looking for one opportunity, right? Give them one opportunity, and then from there, it's all on you. You've got to perform.
Yep, it is. And like I promise the world to people because I've been in that operations role, in the coordinator role, and know what the process looks like from step one until we move it over to invoicing, and have a firm understanding of like our operations and our processes. And like I said, it's just you have to give yourself opportunities when you get that first bite of just absolutely crushing it. Again, like, yeah, you know what? we have great people there. I'll get you something there tomorrow, if not the day after. Call, guess what? We're going to be there tomorrow. Following up on promises and stuff that weren't even brought up, and just showing your competence and that you care. I think that's the biggest thing. You need to show these clients that we really do care. We are different than most other national providers.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think being in the project coordinator role has influenced your drive in sales, or even just your approach to like how you're approaching sales?
Well, when you're working with different salespeople and you're working on different size jobs, you know, everyone has different clients, but you could work from a little $2,000 touch-up job to something that's $750,000. And when you're in that project coordinator role and you can look over to the left and look at the deal revenue on that and do the math on what that salesperson is making, yeah, it's a huge motivator to say, I can't wait till I'm in that realm of doing that. But also just having a firm understanding of the business. If a problem comes up on an active job site, you need to be confident enough to call your client and say, hey, here's an issue that we're having. Here's what our solution is, and this is what I think is going to be the best for the problem that just came up, versus not being knowledgeable at all of, oh, this is why this happened, or why didn't we see that before, you know. So just having that experience, having that background going in with future problems that are going to rise on any job. It's construction, so.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know Mark's story, Mark was a physical therapist. Actually, we were connected through my wife, who worked for Mark.
Who's now a physical therapist. So shout out to my wife for just started. Congrats,
actually
Angel.
in her new job here. Love you. Yeah, she started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So officially a doctor of physical therapy. But yeah, Mark was a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy. Came to the Pavement Group, started out as a project coordinator, just like Paige as well, and has now grown into a sales role. And you know, I think for anyone who's willing to take that leap and bet on themselves, like for me as a sales director and who manages a team, I'm like, dude, I want that person that's going to be, you know, that is willing to bet on themselves. Yeah. Like I'm looking for that person that's like, yep, I'm willing to take a step back so I can absolutely catapult. Yeah. Like it's huge.
I think it really boils down to, again, I've said before, but discipline, but more so accountability. I'm not going to walk in and blame my failure on anyone else when I'm in control of how many people I'm trying to get a hold of, searching the right people this time of year. And truthfully speaking, I don't really have much else to do in terms of like my projects are all winding down, closing up punch work. So there's not a whole lot of active stuff going on. So like, what else would I be doing anyway? Even if I didn't want to prospect, like what else would I be doing? I'm not going to sit in my office all day doing nothing, you know, so.
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. It's separation season. And here's the reality though. There's a lot of people in the world that would sit in their office and do nothing because like, there's not a whole lot to do. People aren't answering their phones right now because tomorrow's Thanksgiving or, you know, Christmas is coming up. So they're probably not going to answer. So I'm not going to call them anyway. Like, no. We call them. We still send the email because at some point in time, they're going to need us. And I know for a fact that we are a great solution for what they need. And so it's the separation season of saying, you know what, I'm still going to reach out. I'm still going to call them. I'm still going to do the reps that it takes each and every single day.
Could have waited till Friday or Monday to send out the 8 revisions I had today. But no, I mean, how does that look to your client where 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, getting an email from me saying, hey, that revision you asked for, here you go. By the way, here's a schedule date for it too if you want to move forward. Like, just because it's before Thanksgiving doesn't mean I'm done. or anyone here in general, not just me, but.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the power of one more. I know you shared that with me.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So earlier this year, we were lucky enough to go to the TCS Inner Circle Retreat where Ed Milet was a guest speaker. He did a phenomenal job, and he wrote his most recent book is titled The Power of One More. And prospecting, hours of emailing, hours of phone calls, whatever, you're just like, you know what, like, I've done hundreds, right? You know, it's probably time to just, you did a good job today. Like, it's cool. One more. That one more phone call, that one more email. You know, I already texted that person, you know, yesterday. Why not one more? They said, oh, I'm in a meeting, like, follow back later. They didn't answer my call. I'm going to try them one more time. Like, those one mores, that one more has led to the biggest client that I'm currently prospecting giving me, started with one opportunity that's now turned into about 7 or 8 that I'm currently bidding. But it really all started because of that afternoon. I was like, you know, I'm going to give this person one more email or that one more contact attempt, and it worked out. So anytime you think you're done, you did a good job, there's always room. One more.
Yeah, dude, you brought that to me, a couple weeks ago when you said, listen, I sent out a couple hundred emails. I made, 50 phone calls, and, I was about ready to quit. It was a Friday at whatever, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I was about ready just to throw in the towel, go home, and I sent one more, and I've got a 7-figure opportunity in front of me.
Yep.
For a client that is brand new, who needs my help, who I can service and get home quicker and with less headaches.
Yeah.
When working with me versus anyone else. And it's just, it's that power of one more.
How long does it take to send an email?
It's quick.
How long does it take to send an email? How long does it take to send a quick text? Like, hey man, I know you were busy yesterday. You have time for a quick call today? Mm-hmm. You never know what's gonna happen. So
how do you stay top of mind as you're currently working with clients, as you're following up with clients? This time of the year right now, we're probably getting a lot of clients. I mean, I've gotten a lot of clients that said, hey, let's check back in after the holidays. Like, how are you staying top of mind so that when you do call them after the holidays or you have a scheduled call with them, they answer?
So, pro tip from you was, the minute there's interest, or like, hey, look, obviously we're gonna have projects, but like now is the downtime. Like, we're not gonna start budgeting or reviewing any of this stuff until January, February. It's like, okay, well, if you're budgeting in January and you're planning in February, like would late February be a good time to circle back up with you? And you know what? That sounds right. Would you be agreeable? Hey, can I send you a Teams invite? Can I get on your calendar just to make sure that like we don't drop the ball on this and that we can still stay in touch? Sure, no problem. The minute that phone ends up, I already have the email meeting drafted, send right there. Just to make sure that they don't forget about me. I don't forget about them either. So
yeah. I've been sharing this with our team. It's a little thing that I've used throughout the years, right? It's, if I'm calling somebody right now, holidays are coming up, people are getting distracted, right? They might not even be thinking about paving projects, right? But I've gotten a hold of them. They've said, yep, I do have some coming up next year. I'll say, great, that's awesome, love it. When should we reconnect? They say, February. Okay, cool. Why don't I send you a Teams invite? Let's get something on our schedules, on our calendars. And if at that time, we come up to that Teams invite, the time that we have scheduled, if we have nothing to talk about, or if your budgets aren't out yet, we can just punt it another month or another couple weeks, whatever works. But at least we have something on the schedule. Almost all the time people agree to it, right? Mm-hmm. They're okay with it. And that way it's on their schedule. It holds them accountable to jump it on. It holds you accountable to jump it on. Rather than you just saying, hey, I'll call you in February. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, Mark Perkins called them. They didn't answer. Well, now you're chasing, right? As a salesperson, we don't ever want to be chasing. Mm-hmm. We want to have that agreed upon direction. And I would highly, highly recommend that you put it on your calendar and the prospect's calendar. Yeah. Or if it's a current customer on their calendar too, they get busy, right? So just a little pro tip, something actionable that you can implement today as you're prospecting, as you're talking to people. Get it on your calendar and your prospect or customer's calendar.
And like, rather than just hearing you talk too, it's a service industry. We're in construction. I say it all the time. This is still a service business. Yeah. Right? I'm calling you because I can help you. I want to help you. I'm not calling it to force jobs. I'll force you to fork over these jobs for me. Do you have properties that you need like help on? Because like I see you're in North Carolina. We have an amazing handful of crews that work out of North Carolina, and I can guarantee you that they're better than what you've had before, and I can ensure that we're going to get the right scope of what you're looking for. Make sure your money is well spent too. Mm-hmm. Not going to be like, you know what? Wow, appreciate this guy rather than like, hey, do you have any jobs that you can like hand over or any jobs that I can like bid? You know, it all starts that intro phone call, setting that expectation of I'm here to serve you and help you, and you know, I'd love to follow up with you whenever you're ready. So
yeah, that's it. I always tell people too. I would tell our sales team this all the time. Like, we will be there for our customers when they need us, right? They don't need us for 95% of the time throughout the year, but the 5% that they do need us throughout the year, we're going to be there, and we want to be top of mind. And it just takes, you know, building relationships, consistent communication, things like that to consistently get top of mind. So, any advice that you give to any you know, salesperson, any new salesperson that could be in a similar position to you right now, who might be staring down the barrel of 2025 going, how do I hit that number? That's a lot. Like, what do I do?
I would just say formulate a plan every day and hold to it and stay disciplined and say, if you're going to call 200 people, call 200 people. Don't call 150 or 135 and say, well, I'll get the balance tomorrow. Do what you say you're going to do and stick with it. And like I said, I have a target. You gave me a target amount. I've tried to exceed that every day, and just being consistent with it too. Because if you just go, oh, well, I did it, you know, I called 400 people in 2.5 days and it's Thursday, I can take a little time. Because in March, April, when I'm sitting there and there's nothing coming in or I'm not hearing from any, there's only one person to blame, and it's me, because I didn't call enough people. I didn't reach out and work hard enough. So
I'll tell you, dude, when I was an individual salesperson, I was scared to death that I bid all these jobs. I was scared to death that 0 of them would come in. Now, the data showed me that, you know, X% will come in, right? As long as I'm putting good bids out and having the right conversations. But I was scared, dude. I was scared to death. I was like, dude, what if I just submitted $10 million in bids and 0 of it comes in? So I was like, well, it looks like I'm just gonna have to submit $20 million for it. So that's what I did, and it worked out very well, right? All of a sudden, stuff started coming in. Some of the stuff didn't come in, like I thought it might not, right? And then eventually, the numbers caught up, and I would do double the amount of revenue that I even thought I could do, right? So that's just me personally, but I was scared to death initially as a salesperson. I'm like, what if it doesn't come in? So I just doubled it.
You know, and I think not just in asphalt and pavement and that stuff, but in life, like, you learn more from the losses. Like,
success is a terrible, as Brian always says, success is a terrible teacher.
Dude, losing is the best educational experience there is, right? So, you know, a bunch of times, like, bids will get rejected. Oh, you were more expensive. Okay. What about the bids that I wasn't more expensive on, but you still rejected, that you still went with someone else one? Like, and that's a good way to sharpen your own game and like learn more about your client and what they're looking for, and just use that as an opportunity down the line as well. So,
love it, dude. I love it. Well, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Again, this is on separation season. You know, don't take this time between now and the start of next year. You know, do not sleep on this time. If you do, I promise you, you're going to be looking down the barrel of a 2025 that you do not want to be a part of. I mean, it's just the truth, right? So if you use this time, though, you could have a life you could have a year that changes your life. And I've experienced that. And you've experienced that, right?
Yes.
It's like, if you just focus and work hard and work when other people are not working and when other people are taking time off, which everyone does this time of the year, dude, you could have a massive, massive 2025. So take all of the things. There's some actionable pieces throughout this podcast, throughout this episode today. Mark, really appreciate you being on and sharing some tips. Yeah. You know, take those things, implement them, and have a great 2025. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for 2025, and I'm really excited for you. So
come back in June, see how I'm doing.
That's it. Yeah. We'll come back. Tell you what, we'll come back in April when you know the bidding season is really ramped up and the year's really started, and then we'll also check back in like June, July-ish.
I like that.
And you guys check in and see where Mark's at. We'll maybe even share some numbers on where you're at, and yeah, I'm excited for you, man. You keep crushing it. And you guys keep crushing it too. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.